Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, and welcome, Fro Nation, to another episode of FroKnowsPhoto Raw Talk. This week's episode is number 32, and I don't have a name for it yet. We'll see what happens as we move forward, but I want to start off and say that this week's episode is brought to you by my boot camps. FroKnowsPhoto.com/bootcamps. Here is the poster, and this is actually a postcard with the dates. There are 8 dates that we have scheduled. The first one coming up is May 4th in Nashville, followed by June 15th in Chicago. So we need to fill those up fully, or as much as possible, to make us come. Well, we're coming out there to Nashville, and on May 4th we have the boot camp. So there are a couple spaces still available. It would be great to fill those up. And on May 5th, to be announced later, we will announce the Frodo Walk. It's free. We'll let you know where that's going to be. So that's right. May 4th is the next one. That's coming up very, very soon. So you can still get tickets for that one. And June 15th, Chicago. We need to fill that one up to make Chicago happen. So we're going to do the Raw Talk this week the way that I did it last week. I have a bunch of topics that I wrote down that I think are topical, that I think a lot of people want to talk about. And I really think that they're going to bring up some interesting things for us all to think about before we jump into the flying solo portion of FroKnowsPhoto Raw Talk. I enjoy flying solo, but I also like having these topics to talk about beforehand. So why don't we jump right into this? I have a bunch of topics, and the first thing on my mind here is the Sigma 18-35 f1.8. I am waiting for a review unit to come from Sigma. I am very interested to see how this lens is going to be. I am venturing to say that it's going to be a heavy lens. For those of you out there who may not be familiar with what makes this lens so interesting, it's the fact that it is a zoom f1.8. And it's on a DX camera, it's not FX. It's the first of its kind on a DX camera. Now, I know some people have said, well, Olympus has these f2 lenses, and yes, but Olympus also has a sensor that is a hell of a lot smaller than a DX sensor. There's a big difference between the Micro Four Thirds and DX, and then from DX to full frame. Just go look at the squares inside, or the size of the sensor. It's totally different. So the Sigma 18-35 is an f1.8 at 18 and a 1.8 at 35. That's very, very new and very interesting. So it's a zoom lens, but it's only for people that have DX cameras, or the APS-C as they call it. So you're looking at your D7100s and below, and your Canon 60Ds and below, including the 7D. And what can we say about it? Well, I think some of the concerns are going to be price. Who knows how it's going to be priced? I mean, it is a zoom. You look at their 35 1.4, right? You look at Sigma's 35 1.4. Well, that's a full frame lens, so it's going to be more expensive. I think it's in the $1,200 to $1,300 range. No, it's not that much. I think it's like $900. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sorry, I didn't look it up. But this range is 18 multiplied by 1.5 or 1.6. You're looking at a 27 millimeter to 52.5 millimeter zoom range. So on a DX camera, that's a fantastic range. But if it's priced $1,000 or more, which I think it's going to be $1,100, $1,200 is where I can guesstimate that this lens is going to be. I could be wrong. I mean, it could be $899, but even at $899, I keep getting yelled at. People are like, Jared, you keep talking down about DX, and it's not, you don't think it's a pro. And look, a D4 is a pro body, and there's really nothing like a D800 it's pro-ish. You know, it's a pro camera, but it's not in a pro body like a D4 or like a 1DX. Those are pro body cameras. DX is good. Don't get me wrong. The D7100 is going to be fantastic. The quality has gotten tremendous in those cameras. Same thing with the 7D and the D60 and or 60D or whatever they call them in Canon, whatever they're going to be putting out. But again, I feel that pros in the field are going to be full frame. That is where you get the best low light capability. Sure, you can do good low light capability with your D7100, but you can do better low light capability with a full frame sensor. That is just how it is. I want to take a note here to talk about, people always say that high ISO, I'll just talk about it, where high ISO means that you don't need wide apertures like this. Well, no, the whole point is you want to have the ability to let more light in and keep your ISO down if possible, or have a faster shutter speed. You know, if you're at 6400 ISO with a lot of today's cameras, you can totally handle it. But would you rather be at 5.6 at 6400, or would you rather be at f2 with one of these 18 to 35 lenses at, say, what's that? So we're at f2, so that's 2.8, that's three stops, roughly, yeah, 2 to 2.8 to 4 to 5.6 is 3 stops. So instead of being at 6400, 3200, then 1600, you're at about 800 ISO. The quality just gets so much better at lower ISOs. It's not bad up high, but just imagine what you can do with your shutter speeds. You just have more control. So instead of being at 6400 ISO at 5.6, at say 100th of a second, you can go down to like 2500 ISO. Instead of dropping it all the way to 800 to get the same 100th of a second at f2, you can be, excuse me, you can be at like 1,000th of a second. I didn't do the math in my head. So before we move on, another concern about the lens is sharpness. How's it going to be at 1.8? Is it going to have a lot of vignetting? How's it going to be around the edges? Is it going to be sharp all the way through? Only time is going to tell. So I got off a little bit on a tangent there about the DX format and people yelling at me a little bit, and I'm not talking down on anybody who owns a DX. The point of the matter, the fact of the matter is if a person is just jumping into DX and they buy a D7100 and they spend $1,200 for the body, are they going to spend another $1,200 right off the bat for a zoom lens like this? I don't think so. Or somebody buys a D3200. Is this lens of interest? So I don't know too many pros that walk around out there with their second bodies being a D7100 or a DX camera. I don't know too many that actually do that. So it's a tough choice for this lens. I want to see how it works. Is it a step towards a full frame camera, a full frame lens that does something wide angle that's 1.8? We don't know. It's going to be very expensive, but if somebody pulls it off, it's going to be a very interesting thing to see. So I'm going to move on from there. You guys leave your comments down below what you think about this lens. I know I did a video about it before, but I want to move on to the Canon printer. I've been getting a lot of questions about the Canon printer and what I think about it so far. Well, I finished my review. We filmed it. Me and Steven filmed it. Steven and I filmed it the other week. We had Dominic Episcopo, who was on one of the RAWtalks. He came in to record some. We basically looked and compared digital the inkjet prints to the lab prints, and you know, you're going to see the review, but I can give you guys some heads up for looking at it here. I think it's very comparable. I may lean towards the inkjets at sometimes. If I am just comparing prints to prints, I love the boomification of the inkjet. The black and whites, the blacks were much blacker on the inkjet than they were on the prints that came from a lab. Now, the lab prints are very good. When you put them side by side, there's subtle differences, but it's sometimes hard to tell which one is better than the other. Now, you guys have to keep in mind that the prints are running roughly the same cost, but that's not counting for the cost of the printer and on the other side, shipping. So for the printer that I have, the Canon Pro 10, the Pixma Pro 10, you're looking at roughly $550 for ink and paper, maybe around $6 for a 13 by 19. Or you will call it a 12 by 18, whatever. We'll call it 13 by 19. But you want to call it 12 by 18 from the lab, you're looking at like $9, you're looking at about $550 for that before shipping. So the costs are very comparable. There's a lot of paper choices. There's a lot that goes into this, and in the review, I talk about different papers from Red River and Hammermule and all of those things, and ink. So if you factor it in, the prints are going to cost about the same. I'm really happy with the blacks of the printer. I think that the colors are more boomy. The picture of Ed Sheeran is fantastic from the inkjet, even the one of Bieber, for you guys who hate Bieber anyway, but still, I'm not a believer. Don't worry about it. I just like the pictures that I captured. I love the option of having the printer here. Now, the downside is it doesn't give me huge prints. On the inkjet, you're not going to print 4x6s and 5x7s and save a ton of money. You're not going to save a lot of money. It's going to be a little more expensive than ordering in a lot of prints. So for me, if you're doing a heck ton of bulk prints, I mean, you may just want to order that out to save yourself time, because you have to take your time into consideration. So before I move on from there, I mean, yes, having the printer here, and if I do a shoot with a model, and then then I edit the raw files real quick, and I pump out a print in 5 or 15 minutes, depending on the settings that I use. You'll hear that in the review. It's something fantastic to show somebody when they leave. You can give it to them, and they can leave, and you can give it to them. Hopefully, if it's a good model, you're giving it to them before they leave anyway. I take my water drinks. You guys know that, for all you listening. Oh, by the way, anybody who's watching on the YouTube right now, up in the top right-hand corner, you can see an annotation. If you click that, that's going to take you right to the podcast episode on the website where you can download the MP3. Please be sure to sign up on the on iTunes so you can get delivered the blah, blah, blah. What's it called? Delivered the episode before it goes live on the website. So there you have that. I would love to have a large-scale printer, whether it's an Epson or whether it's a large format Canon that can do 40 inches wide by however long I want, so I can do 40 by 60s all day long. But the only problem becomes after that, what do you do with the prints? Do you encapsulate them? Do you have them framed? So there's a lot that goes into owning an inkjet printer. It costs money, and on the large scale, it costs a lot of money. It may not be worth having unless you're printing a ton of posters and selling them. So I don't want to beat the dead horse. It's not very, very, very dead, though. Very, very dead horses. Yeah. So what do I have next? I was asked to speak at Antonelli Institute to all their graduates, to the ones that are graduating. This isn't at graduation, but this is their final speaker. And they gave me the advice. They said, be yourself. Now, that's a scary statement to make sometimes, and some people would be worried to hear that I was told to be myself. Now, I'm always myself. First and foremost, you can't be somebody that you're not. I like being myself. Sure, you can tone some things down, but I look at it as it's a good opportunity to get there and speak, and I'm going to film it. Steven's going to come along with me. We're going to record it, and I'll probably cut it up into pieces to share with you guys, but I am going to speak for about an hour to an hour and a half, hopefully take questions, and I'm going to talk about the trials and tribulations of being a professional photographer, or the attempt to be a professional photographer with so many people out there trying to do it right now. There's no sugarcoating needed, but people have to realize that this is a business and you're in competition with me and you and everybody else out there with a camera. So I want to talk about the marketing aspect, the branding, how it's important today as a photographer to brand and market yourself, because you have to stand out above everybody else who's out there. I think marketing is extremely important in today's world as a photographer. Maybe not so much 15, 20 years ago, but look, outside of college, I struggled for 10 years on my own as a photographer, and then I was doing Rolling Stone gigs, and I was doing the weddings, and I picked up gigs here and there, but nothing is ever like consistent. I was doing a major job all the time for this credit card company. They ended up going bankrupt during the bust, but I was getting calls. I was doing a couple shoots a week, and I was charging them $450, $500 a shoot. I mean, I was never making $500 a day to go shoot, and I had, when you had 2 or 3 of them a week, it's like, holy crap, this is amazing, but it's not something that's always sustainable. It can go away, and you can be replaced by somebody else just when the wind blows. So, I mean, I have a whole list. I'm going to show you the list. I've got this part of the page for you guys that are watching online, and I've got the back of the page, but I have so much to talk about, from passion and emotion to stand for something and stand out, be different. It's a noisy world with photographers. How do you stand out? Always be hungry. Never be satisfied with your work. Find your way. I mean, I've got a lot. What do I have in here? The importance of your website versus Facebook. You need your home page. I'm going to say something there like, how many people remember MySpace? Well, I mean, we remember it. I'm old enough to remember it. But these kids in college may not have had MySpace at this point. But there were a lot of bands that didn't have their own websites. They relied on MySpace. Now, it's very important to have your own space that you have control of, that you send. It looks more professional. And if you, in this day and age, have an email address that says @AOL.com, it doesn't look professional. It's like Gmail is the standard. If you don't even have just sign up for a Gmail account. That's considered professional email. If you're using AOL at the end of your email, that's just bad. It's like shocker2369 at AOL.com, and you're going to think you're going to get photo gigs off of that? You need your own website. All right, I'm not going to go into my whole dissertation and speech and whatever I'm going to do when I get to Antonelli, but I do want to say that... I'm going to say this because a question came up. I'll save it for later. But, when I graduated with, say, 110 kids or something, and between the 2 years, first and second year students that I knew, I would say maybe 10 people that I know of are making a profession out of photography. What happens are some people just fail. They fall off to the side. They maybe don't have the initiative. Now, you don't always have to be out on your own. Sometimes you can work for somebody else and be successful and enjoy that. Some people like that. Or some people need the stability of knowing that you're working for somebody else and it all doesn't fall on your shoulders. I had trouble working for other people, if you couldn't guess. When I worked for The Man, a.k.a. Ritz Camera, and I'll call them The Man. I mean, they had so many safe checks, so many layers of bullshit. And I used to get calls from my district manager about not pushing their crappy products, their shitty filters and their crappy damage protection, which is a ripoff if I've ever seen it, because we know that charging somebody $500 to protect their camera for 5 years when they spent $600 on the camera is a disgrace. And yes, I would make more money if I sold those. For those of you who didn't know, like when you sell damage protection, I would make 10%, I think up to 20%. If you sold somebody 5 years, you'd make 20%. Well, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. I mean, you're going to make a lot of money. You could make good money doing that, but I couldn't honestly push the crap. What was I talking about? I don't even remember. The Man and working for other people. Yeah, I mean, I still did my own thing. I couldn't follow the company rules all the time. And guess what? I got people coming back. Ritz's policy, or a lot of those stores were, sell all the crap you can sell, get them to buy everything now because we won't see them again. And my mentality was, look, you don't need this right now. If you're ready, if you feel like you want it in a couple months, come back and see me. That was always my mentality, and I think that works best. All right, so we've got those two things hammered out. We got that. All right, I want to discuss this. This is a tough one. With the whole Boston thing that happened, I'm not downplaying it by calling it a thing. It was an attack. It's horrible. We know it's horrible. It's not something that we want to see ever happen. And the question comes up, should photographers be taking pictures or helping the hurt? Now, it's an interesting question. I've never been in this situation, and I hope I'm never in this situation where I have to make a decision between taking pictures and helping somebody out. Now, I think you have a responsibility as a person if you are able to help and in a place to stop something bad from happening, or if you see something's about to happen and you don't say something. I think that's horrible. I think we have an obligation in this day and age to see something, say something. They say that in New York all the time. See something, say something. You never know what you're going to stop or prevent or save. So on to the bombings happen, and there's photographers running around taking pictures, and some people are like, well, they should be helping and they shouldn't be taking pictures. And somebody brought up a good point on the Facebook page. I mean, my feeling is, if you can help and you are trained to help, you have to help. Put the camera down. But if there are other people there who are trained and are EMTs and they're in charge of what's going on, then I think you need to capture the moments that are there. I think still images capture more of a feeling than video. I know that still images, frozen moments in time, capture things incredibly because you have to read into the image. Now, moving video, you see what's going on and you can see what's happening. But those frozen moments in time of the runner on the ground, the one police officer with her gun pulled, and the other two there with the smoke in the background, we've seen the video, but the photos are incredible. So I think first things first, I feel like I would have to help. if I am capable of helping. I'm not trained. I'm not a trained EMT, but I think I've got some common sense that if I needed to help somebody somehow, I am going to help first. I don't think you can take pictures as somebody lays idly by. If you're the first one there or nobody's there to help a person, you have to help. I like to think I am I don't like to think I am a very helpful person. I see people out there, and if you ask if they need help, do they need a hand? Like, I see 14 steps ahead of me sometimes, or I'm thinking 17 steps ahead. And there's times where, you walk in somewhere and you see that they have like 3 bags. And before they even start looking for help, I ask, would you like me to help you carry a bag out? Can I hold the door? Can I do something? I feel like I at times need to do that because why not? Why not ask for if somebody needs help or anticipation? I mean, that's a great thing. The whole anticipation thing, regardless of what it is how you become a good assistant. You anticipate the needs of the photographer that you're working with, and that is what we look for in assistants. So, the whole thing with this bombing, horrible, but I guess it's twofold. We've got the instant that it happens and the people that helped and the photos that were captured. I think there were a lot of people there to help, that it's okay for those photographers to take pictures. You have to show the world what happened. You can't just not capture images. There was that scene in that movie, We Were Soldiers, where the guy throws his gun away and just starts taking pictures because that was his job. He captured the scene. That was what he was doing. I've never been there, and that was a movie. The second part is, this brings us back to what we talked about last week about street photography becoming illegal. It's not going to happen at any point, anytime at all, especially for the fact that the photos and surveillance and amateur video and cell phone pictures were very integral in capturing the suspects. They are suspects. Well, one of them suspects, the one that survived. So they're suspects until they are proven guilty. Of course, that's how we do it here. Which is the whatever. We're not going to get into politics again and get yelled at and all of that. So I don't mean to drag this on or bring us down, but I just think it's important things to talk about. Having everybody with a camera out there today is both a blessing and a curse. In situations like this, everybody had a camera, taking video, taking photos. They submitted them in, and they were able to figure out who possibly could have done this from the surveillance and from those photos and everything. It's amazing how quick it moved. But yeah, it's very hard in this day and age to get away with anything. Everybody has a camera. Everybody is watching, and everybody is filming and recording everything. So it's very, very hard to get away with murder. Not even murder, with stealing, with just bad things. Somebody is out there watching. You don't know where the cameras are, but if you have a crime somewhere, somebody is going to be looking for a camera. The police are going to look for a camera. So really, the mentality is, what would you do in the situation? Leave comments below, or just think about what you would do if you were faced with a catastrophe like this. Keep shooting or help others. I know it's a tough decision, and this is what I feel. I feel I would first help others where possible, and then if I'm of no use because I don't know certain medical things, then I need to take pictures, unless I have to figure out what to do because somebody is so bad off that their life depends on me turning a tourniquet or something along those lines. So that's how I feel about that, and yeah, I think it's now time to fly solo now that we're 24 minutes into this. Flying solo is good. Don't forget, guys, to download the MP3. Click on the screen. The annotation is up there. And for anybody out there, please check out FroKnowsPhoto.com/podcast. You can see all of the old episodes. You can watch the videos of them, whether it's around the poker table or whether it's me sitting at the computer giving you these talks and going through flying solos. You can download the MP3s. You can listen on the website, or you could watch on the YouTube. So here we go, flying solo. Shahil Nanda. I shoot a lot of musicians for a bar, or whatever. I'm just reading, I'm trying to paraphrase. The artist puts up photographs clicked by me, as mean photos taken by me, up on their Facebook after cropping my watermark. Now that's terrible. I have to tell each person individually after they crop the photographs not to do so, and they usually understand. Now what I want to know is, how do I prevent such a situation from arising in the first place? Well, you are the first person in line to tell them, don't crop my work. I am giving you these photos to use on your website. They have my watermark, and in order for me to give you these photos, the watermark must be there. Do not crop my work without my permission. Do not do it. It is my work. Thou shalt not crop thy work. Quote, end quote. Do not let anybody crop your work. First things first, you have to ask them not to do it when you deliver the photos. That's the one way around it. And if they do it after, you just have to ask them. You have no recourse. You can't really do very much. Just ask them nicely. Please do not crop my work. Please leave my watermark. That is what you give me because you're not paying me most likely. So that is what you need. All right. Eduardo Tapia. For lighting newbie, start with fluorescent continuous light or strobe flashlights. What to consider when buying your first kit. You're seeing a lot of continuous lights out there these days. I like continuous lights for doing photo shoots. I love that I can see the light where it's falling. It's more natural than a flash sometimes. And I really like using my Westcott TD6s. I know that Peter Hurley's working on his lights. He uses bulbs. Continuous lighting for doing his portraits, but flashes are much smaller. Flashes and strobes are a hell of a lot smaller than continuous lights, larger continuous lights. I just say experiment with whatever lights that you have. A small softbox with a fluorescent coil lamp in there. Make sure you get the right color temperature that you're looking for. Make sure you get your white balance set. So if you're a noob, just start with something. Start with any kind of light and move there. I like the continuous lights, but I also have a kit to shoot strobes when needed. Gina Pemberton, have you used exposure compensation? I heard if you shoot in manual mode, exposure compensation will not work. Is that correct? No, no, exposure compensation is going to work. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's when you have your aperture, your shutter speed, your ISO set, and you want to over or underexpose by 1 to 3 stops. Some cameras do 4 stops, and that means you're just changing the exposure compensation. So if the shutter, let's say you want to underexpose something, meaning instead of speeding the shutter speed up to overexpose the action to capture motion by 1 stop, you could what is it? I don't even use exposure compensation personally, but I guess you would underexpose. You would go to the left towards the negative sign, and you would underexpose by a stop. That would, in essence, be the same thing as going to 1000 ISO from 500. So it still does affect your meter when you're shooting in manual, but you also have to remember to change it back so you're not a stop off on everything that you shoot. That's something that happens with the exposure compensation. A lot of people forget to change it back. I personally don't use it. I use my shutter speed, aperture, and ISO to basically be my compensation. That's what I do. Darren Altman, Jared, in the beginner's guide, you mentioned that shooting at dusk, the golden hour, is the best time to shoot because you have the light completely parallel with your subject. I like golden hour, yep. I have done this a few times, and the light at that hour is so much nicer, so much easier to work with. Some of my best work has been during the golden hour. My question is for you is, do you find it challenging to shoot events or in general where the sun is directly over you, casting shadows in places that do not flatter your subjects? How do you compensate, especially when you're shooting an event such as a wedding during these overly sunny times of the day where you cannot just move the location of the shoot? Well, for weddings, if they want to get married at noon, 1, 2, 3, or 11, 12, 1, 2, 3 in the morning or afternoon, you're stuck with trying to make it work. You can pop flashes to fill flash into people's faces. That's one thing that you can do. You're not going to have reflectors, so if the shadows are that bad, you have to fill in some flash. So you're going to have to know what you're doing with your flash, exposing for the background first, or getting your ambient first, and then filling the light in and trying to get your flash to where you want it so it's natural and balanced with the outdoors. That is one of the things you have to do. But if you don't have a flash, have somebody hold a reflector. Have the gold side or the silver side bouncing light back into the subject's face or move under the tree into the shaded area. It's just things that you have to do to try to compensate for this. Golden hour is beautiful. It's beautiful light, but you don't have it all the time. And if you are forced to shoot at any other time where there's harsh shadows, you have to know what to do. You have to fill and kick light back into the subject's face, or you have to figure out how to shoot into the light, which is very tough when it's right up above. So those are just some things to keep in mind. Rich Frolini, really? Frolini? When preparing files to make your big-ass prints, how are you enlarging the images? If using a lab, do you let them blow up the image, or are you using something like Genuine Fractals? Genuine Fractals, for those of you who do not know, is a program that grows your images larger. When you tell them what size you want to make it, it says it grows them larger, and you don't lose any quality. Now, I've blown up stuff to 40 by 60, and how I've done it in the past in Photoshop is I export from Lightroom the highest res file, or I say open in Photoshop as a TIFF or something like that. Maybe it's 16-bit, but most you can't save those JPEGs or something as 16-bit. And a lot of websites, I know, Adorama-Pix, I think you've got like a 60 megabyte limit for uploading a file, so 60 megs per file. And so what I've done in Photoshop is I've grown them. Now, you hear people talk about incrementally growing your files, 20% at a time. And I'm just like, what? It's a digital file. I personally don't think there's going to be a difference if you enlarge it 20%, 20%, 20%, and 20% to get to where you're going versus enlarging it to the size you freaking want it to go. I've heard this all around. Now, I've done different prints. I've tested it out, and I do not see a difference. So what I do is I enlarge in Photoshop. Say I come in with a native file that's 12 by 18. Well, I'll type in, if it's going to be a 40 by 60, I'll make the one side 60 inches, and it will automatically set the other side to whatever it's going to be. Sometimes it falls where it's going to be, say, 38.5 inches by 60. Well, I want to make sure that the shortest end is going to be at least 40, and then the 60 is going to be slightly larger to give them some room to work with, because I don't want the company enlarging them. I rather give them a final product that I grew myself, so that we're not relying on them to enlarge. Sierra Prine, when is the guide for flashes coming out? So the FroKnowsPhoto beginner guide, the FroKnowsPhoto beginner flash guide is still being edited. It is in the final stretch of being edited. We shot for 5 days, Adam and I, and it becomes a very documentary style shoot, meaning there's a lot of footage, and there's 4 channels of audio, and there's a lot of work for the editor to do. So he is busting his ass right now to get it done. He gave me some time frames, 15 days, 30 days, so I hope it's somewhere in the middle, and then we're going to prep it and get it ready to release to you guys so that you can start learning flashes. It's a really killer guide. I mean, it's like the FroKnowsPhoto beginner guide to getting out of auto. It is the first step in starting flash photography. It takes you through what all of the stands and softboxes and the tools you'll need to start shooting, and it gives you the different options that are out there. There are 5 different ways to trigger your flash. Here are some of them. Here are the least expensive. Here's the most expensive. But we also go into photo shoots where you get to watch us doing photo shoots and figuring out how to make something work. So enough on that, but it's coming soon. Renee Zepeda. Will you do a photo walk in Chicago or just the boot camp? If so, will you be doing it at Millennium Park? I don't know where I'll be doing it yet, but guys, remember, wherever I do a boot camp, I am going to do a Frodo walk. So just because there's one that's pay doesn't mean I'm not going to do the other that is free. I enjoy the Frodo walks. I love meeting you guys out in public. It's great. Now, let me remind you that the boot camps are 8 hours long and smaller. You know, we don't have 150 people there. We have up to 25 people there. So you're learning from 2 professional photographers in a more, laid back environment for 8 hours. It's hands-on learning. The Frodo walks are 1.5 hours to 2 hours of us hanging out and talking and testing, shooting, and everything like that. But really, the boot camps are great. So yes, there will be a Frodo walk as long as we make it to your city. We have to sell a certain number of tickets in each city in order for us to come to that city, and we'll determine that a month before at least. So definitely pick up your tickets if you're thinking about it, because we do have spots for certain places. And that brings me up to boot camp discussion real quick. We do have spots open in Nashville. We've got a couple of spots still available for anybody interested. That's on May 4th. Where's my postcard? Here's my postcard. Check that out. Awesome. We've got all these dates here. I'll just read them real quick because this is like a plug for me. May 4th in Nashville, June 15th, Chicago, July 13th, New York City, August 3rd in Washington, D.C., September 7th in Boston, October 5th in Seattle, November 9th in Miami, December 14th in New Orleans. FroKnowsPhoto.com/bootcamps is where you can get all the information as well as signing up. And if you sign up before June 30th, 2013, you will get a early bird special and get a $50 credit given to you somewhere around your particular boot camp to use in the FroKnowsPhoto store. So that's going to be for items in the FroKnowsPhoto store. So you get that as a discount. You also get, and anybody who already purchased tickets before I announced the early bird special, of course you're getting that $50 to spend as well. We'll give that to you around the time of your boot camp, so we're spreading it out. Water. So I think that's it. I think that's it for the boot camp discussion. Definitely want to fill up some more spots. We're getting close for Chicago and Nashville. Giado Budini, are you ever willing to make the switch to Canon, and what do you think the big difference between Nikon and Canon is? It's personal preference. Would I ever make the switch? Sure, why not? If I can capture images with anything is honestly my answer. If it's a Canon, there's pros and cons to both Nikon and Canon. I would absolutely have no problem whatsoever shooting Canons. 5D Mark III. I mean, my camera of choice would be the 1DX, the 70-200 2.8 version 2, 24-70, and being that they don't have a 14-24, you'd be stuck with a 16-35 2.8. So yeah. Jeremy Bowles. I'm a shy type of person, and photography is helping me get out of my comfort bubble. Do you have any suggestions how to make it easier or quicker to get more confident? I have a story about last night, but yeah, you just have to bite the bullet and go do it. I can talk to anybody anywhere as long as I'm not really hitting on them. I am shy with women. Can anybody believe that? Certain women, random women, bar scenes. I don't want to hit. I mean, I do. I want to hit on people. I want to start conversations, but it's too loud. But anyway, last night there were 3 girls at a table. There's 4 seats. I just asked if I could sit with them because I was by myself. The people that I was supposed to hang out with couldn't make it, so I just went out anyway because I didn't want to sit at home. So there were 3 girls sitting there, and I asked if I could sit, and we just talked for an hour and a half, 2 hours. It was cool. I got to know something about them. They got to know something about me, and that was it. I did something that I don't normally do, and that's trying to engage with somebody that I don't know when it comes to the bar scene. Now, I can engage in anybody if there's an in. Like, you got a camera? I can come in and start talking to you about something. But randomly, some girls sitting at a table, not the easiest thing to do to strike up a conversation. But sometimes the easiest thing to do to strike up a conversation is just say hello. So if you are a shy type of person, just walk up to somebody and say hello. Find something to talk about. Just practice that and be like, oh, hey, how's it going? I noticed you got this hat on. You got this shirt on. That's cool. Oh, I see that you've got this. Find a common interest and start talking. That's how you get your confidence back, or in general. Jackie Burhans, what software do you use for backup? What do you do for off-site backup? I've got my Drobo, so I use my Drobo software. I also know that Adam uses ChronoSync. I know a lot of people on the Mac use ChronoSync to sync and verify that the files are fine. Off-site backup, I need to do that myself. A deep storage option is Amazon Glacier. That is where you can put your files into deep storage that you may not need access to right away. It may take 6 to 12 hours to get those files back when you need them, but it's a last resort. It's like my 4th copy because I've got 2 Drobos on my desk. I want to leave another Drobo at my dad's house that's updated every month or so with the new files. And then I want one off-site backup, as in like on Amazon Glacier. That's where I would want them. Jason Costanza, what camera bag do you recommend to a hobbyist photographer? Something that can be on with me all day. I don't know what he was saying, but basically what kind of camera bag would you want that you can carry around all day shooting? There is not one bag to rule them all. I like my Urban Disguise 30 for shooting as a shoulder bag. I like I don't even know what the heck they call that rolling bag anymore. The one that I don't even know what Think Tank calls that bag because I haven't even looked at the name of it. It's the one. Hey, I just got water on my mouse. I'm sorry, water on my mouse. Really, just not one bag to rule them all. If you need a backpack because you're walking around a lot, get a backpack, but make sure you can have easy access, because easy access is good in any situation to your camera. You want to make sure that you can get the lenses and make changes and do it quickly, but you want to be comfortable. With bags, it varies so much. It depends on what you're doing. Dale Merrick. After a shoot, do you move your files onto your iMac or straight to your Drobos, or both? Where are your final versions stored? First things first, offload onto my iMac. They go into a folder that I have like on deck. Then I drag them into my Lightroom and I do my edits there initially before I start moving them to my Drobo. They would get moved to one Drobo, then they would automatically get copied to this Drobo number 2, which is a backup, and the final versions after time are stored on the Drobo. So that keeps my hard drive clearer on my computer, which should hopefully make it run faster. Dan Granum, Darth Vader versus Superman. Who would win? Darth Vader. He's got the Force. Superman just has power. I just think that, if Darth Vader got a green lightsaber that was made of kryptonite, I mean, how could Superman even get near him? He would just kill him. So I think that Darth Vader would win over Superman because he could use the Force to freeze anything and to lock up Superman and keep him away. I don't know. What do you guys think? James Sapphire, what would you do if a friend wasn't using a certain lens you asked to borrow for a few hours, only to be told there is a charge for it? When do friends become customers? Is this a true friend? In the past, I've given them free info such as location shoots for them to do location shots for them to do fashion shots. This sounds like you know your answer already, but look, if a friend wants to borrow something from me that I am not using, I let them borrow it. I don't need to charge them. If they want to offer me something, it's usually, nah, I don't need your money. Make your money, unless they want to, and they're making money off of charging people to rent your stuff. But I've had people borrow my 300 2.8. I've had people ask to borrow my strobes. I've had people ask to borrow tripods. I'm not going to start renting this stuff out to them and be like, oh, you need to rent it out. But they're my friends. They're my friends for a reason. Random people coming along, I'm a little more hesitant to let them borrow things. I'm not going to let anybody borrow my body. I'm not going to let them borrow a D4. That's my body. Lenses are different. You can replace those pretty quick, and they're not as important as a body. I mean, yes. Lenses are very important. Don't take what I just said the wrong way. Yes, lenses are more important than bodies, but I don't want to let anybody borrow my D4. If anything happens to it, it's on me. So I'm very careful with who I let borrow things and when. But absolutely, they should not be charging you to rent the lens if they're not using it, because it should be the same way around. You'd let them borrow something that you shot. Alex Slade, what made you start shooting Nikon from the go? Was it just luck that it was a Nikon 35mm camera that came to hand? Well, I got asked this when I what did I do? I was interviewed by a high school class. I Skyped with them for a little bit. That was a lot of fun. I got asked this question. How did I end up with my first camera? Well, my first camera was a Canon EOS Elan. That's right. I started with a Canon. That's what the camera store sold me. I didn't buy it. I was sold it because I didn't know any better. They asked me a couple of questions. What are you going to do? This was a limiting camera. I didn't even know Nikon was an option. Somebody showed me a Canon, and I probably got the Canon because that's what my mom's first point and shoot was. So that is probably why I did what I did. But why did I end up with the Nikon? Well, the store that I hung out with, which was like Cheers, because I would hang out there when other people would go to like the mall. My hangout time was at the camera store, learning and talking with professionals as they came in and just sucking up as much information as I could. It is good to suck up information, everybody. Suck up as much as you can. Like, slurp that info down. So how I ended up with my Nikon is that's what the guys at Mid-City Camera used. They used Nikons. I also started to think that maybe they made more of a spiff, meaning they made more of a commission on it when they sold that to me. I don't know if that was the case, but there was only one time I considered switching to Canon. That was at the time when the D2H was so far behind at 4 megapixels, so far behind the Canon 1D Mark II or whatever it was at the time, that I almost thought about it if Nikon's next camera wasn't the real deal. And that just so happened to be the D3, and that was the real deal, so I stayed. Matsu's Pabs. What are some things you dislike about running your own photo business? This is a good question. Something, the business aspect at times. The fact that you can't just shoot all the time for fun. The fact... That's some phlegm that brought up from your name. Sorry about that. What's the, what I don't like about running a business is you have to be on all the time. It's my business. Everything falls on me. I have to be on my game all the time. You mess up, it's on you. An employee messes up, it's still on you. They feel bad, but it's still your business. So the fact is that you have to really take most of your time, 80% of your time, 90% of your time is spent running a business versus the 10% of the time that you actually get to shoot. But that's normal. You have to cultivate business. So if there was something I disliked the most, it's the having to search out those gigs and having to run the business and make phone calls and collect paycheck and try to get paid and just dealing with that stuff opposed to just shooting. But that's the nature of the beast. Gordy Rarichuk. Love the beginner's guide. It was very helpful and entertaining. If you were just starting out now and money was an issue, what one lens would you need for shooting smaller club bar gigs? If you could only get one lens, it's a tough choice. My very first lens was a 80 to 200 2.8 Nikon. Spent like $900 for it when I bought my first Nikon N90, which is in my door as my peephole right now. I picked that lens because I shot sports, and I knew that was the right lens for shooting sports, so that's why I got that. In club photography, you're going to need something a little wider, so something like a 17 to 50 Sigma 2.8, a 17 to 55 Nikon, Canon 17 to 55. I think that's more versatile because you're going to be able to do a 25.5 to 85.5 zoom range. Not only can you do portraits out at portraits out at 55, but you can do the ultra wide angles at 17. So I think that is the one lens, if I was you, it's a good starting place. Alex Medvik. Do you still do FroKnowsPhoto scholarships? I haven't heard anything about it since Sam Green won. Oh, and since I mentioned Sam Green, I've been really curious to see some of his work lately, but haven't been able to find any of it. Is there somewhere he has it up for the seat? Well, I've been talking to Sam. He's coming up on the end of the semester. His first year at Antonelli Institute. We've already talked about this, where I am going to get his portfolio and I am going to review and critique his first year portfolio from school. We're going to sit down and we're going to talk about school, what he likes, what he doesn't like. Sam is busting his ass. I don't know anybody who's working harder over there at school to try to be successful. Sam is doing a lot of that. So I'm going to have him on, and in terms of the scholarship, I give a scholarship each year to a new student at Antonelli Institute who follows the rules and makes something. I usually have them try to make a video about who they are, what they like to shoot, where they plan on going, and I look for the people that take the initiative. And that's something I do. I look for the initiative. I was getting upset when only a certain amount of people were entering, and then I'd be like, wait a second, I can't penalize the people for entered because the people that didn't enter. You know what I'm trying to get at there? I know that didn't make much sense, but I would be upset. I'd be like, oh, I got only 10 entries, but I'd be like, well, those people took the balls by the horn, because when you take the balls by the horn, you're actually doing something. And so yeah, balls by the horn. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. Luca Lazzarini, can you post the FroKnowsPhoto song lyrics? I can post them, but I'll tell you them right now. I shoot raw, I don't crop headshots from the top. I know my f-stops like criminals, no cops. I don't need... Oh, darn it, I forgot it. I shoot raw, I don't crop headshots from the top. I know my f-stops like criminals, no cops. I don't need flash to make the colors pop. Just rely on natural lighting and the Photoshop. Screw Mercedes-Benz, I got the biggest lens and I only shoot with Nikon. And then Walt goes into all you jokers. They don't know your candid shots, they sure do blow. Shit knocks them down like dominoes. The FroKnowsPhoto. And then it's like, yeah, now my fingertips are critical, so ladies, let's get physical. My monopod is pivotal, just like my sight. No, I don't use pomade. My hair stands so straight. And custom-made pics maintain the shape. Now back to the photos. You know where to go. The song is the title of my domain name. And then it goes into Walt. Oh, there you go. I'm done. Mike Jensen. He wrote it out for me. It's M-A-I-K. Mike Jensen. In case you wonder, question, would you use UV filter to protect your lens? I purchased a secondhand Sigma 7200 2.8 HSM, no OS, and it came with a UV filter attached. I haven't tested without the filter, but I guess a filter is just another piece of glass between the sensor and the subject, or is there any difference that increases the ease of use or image quality? By the way, it's on a D7000. I personally do not use filters on any of my lenses. I use you use such good glass that why would I want to put another piece of glass in front of my lens? Now, if you're shooting paintball and I even went through the desert without a filter, but that's just me. If it's a quality filter like a B+W or a Hoya Pro or one of those digital Pro Hoyas, you're going to be better off with one of those if you decide you want to use a filter. But I don't use filters. That's just me, and I get yelled at because filters are good money makers. Jared Deichler. For someone looking to upgrade but not in need of an urgent upgrade, would you recommend the 7D or the 6D or wait to see what comes out? Well, Jared, you could wait forever to see what comes out. But if you're not in need of an upgrade, then buy glass. Buy glass. I personally would not buy a 7D right now. That is an old camera. It's gotten better with the firmware upgrade, but it's still a little old. So I would not personally go with a 7D at this point. Buy glass, or a 6D is a better option. Justin Norton. Here another one for you, Fro. Do you let the bride and groom dictate what you wear to shoot a wedding? Take it upon yourself to dress formally, or just wear whatever is comfortable? My wedding attire is black pair of slacks, black pants or dress pants, black shoes, not polished, I don't polish them, a black belt, and a black shirt. I do not wear a tie. I do not wear a tuxedo. I need to be able to work, but you still need to look the part. And a black rapid goes on my shoulder as well. You have to look the part. You can't dress in pink and purple and orange and stand out that much. I know I have an afro. That is one thing they do get to dictate. Jared, I ask them, would you like my hair up or hair down? Fro, no fro. They get to choose. Or they just say, do whatever you normally do. They like it. They don't mind it. So you gotta dress the part. Tom Craven, ever seriously consider quitting photography? If so, why? Good question. I don't think I've ever seriously thought about quitting. There's been times where I haven't been excited to shoot, where it was right at the tail end of having film. I was out of school. I didn't have my first digital SLR yet, and it just felt like it wasn't fun anymore. In 2003, when I bought my first digital SLR, it became fun again because I got to see the results right there. I got to play around. I didn't have to worry about shooting film. It was a whole new world. It opened up to me. But I've never seriously considered quitting. I've seriously thought about what the hell would I do if I don't make it as a photographer. That's always been on my mind. What the hell could I do? I don't work well for others. I mean, I can. It depends who it is. Like in this day and age, if I wasn't a photographer, I'd be in marketing. I'd be in branding. I'd go call Gary Vaynerchuk up and probably ask for I'd say, let me prove myself to you and let me work with you because I think I have a great mind for marketing and thinking outside the box when it comes to ideas for branding and marketing. And that's where I would be. I'd be a brand and market consultant. I could consult the hell out of people. So that's something that I would do. So no, I don't, I've never really thought about quitting photography, but I have thought, what would I do if I didn't make it as a photographer? Ted Ulrich. Jared, I know you're against cropping. Do you still find yourself having to crop slightly to level a horizon? And or are there any tricks or techniques to use to keep your shots level? Absolutely. I don't crop these either. I have a knack for getting my lines pretty darn straight. It's not arrogant saying it. It's just saying that I have a knack for getting my lines and levels very, very straight. I don't use the in-camera leveler because sometimes I think that's wrong. I like my horizon straight. That goes back to the whole Dutch angles thing. You line up something with the ground, a horizontal line. You just feel it. I think sometimes, I've worked with photographers that are always cockeyed. They always have their levels never straight. It bugs the piss out of me to see not straight lines that there's no reason they shouldn't be straight. Now, when you're shooting ultra wide angle with a 14 millimeter or you're shooting a fisheye, those are the times where you could have a straight line and then something else in the image isn't straight. It's just the nature of those lenses. So if your subject is straight on where you need it, that's good. But some tips: line it up with a bench, line it up with the horizon, line it up with a tree. Just get those things straight on, make them work. And another thing is, don't have a bag hanging over your shoulder, because sometimes you're trying to compensate where you're leaning down too far. Your weight is being pulled one way and you're not compensating, so your camera's tilted. So there you go. Eric Arnold, 1980s Transformers or 1980s G.I. Joe? I owned Transformers, but I'm going to go outside of the box here and say 1980s He-Man. Castle Grayskull, Skull Mountain, Skeletor, Thundercat. No Thundercat. I forget what the cat's names were. But then you had Orca. Was it Orca? That's a whale, so it was Orko. He was that purple Maroon 5 looking thing that would spin around. I'm going with that. I'm going with He-Man before Transformers. I had He-Man and Transformers. I really didn't have G.I. Joes. I did have one of those boats. It was a rowboat from Snake or whatever it was. I don't remember what they were called. The Cobra guy, right? Snake, Cobra, same thing. And I used to play with that in the bathtub. That's what I did. Ray Richter. Good question here. Is it worth it to use Zenfolio for prints for events, or is it better to use a local third-party company? Zenfolio seems like it takes a huge cut. I don't think Zenfolio takes a huge cut. You've got Zenfolio, you've got SmugMug. What these companies allow you to do is upload your files, and you set the prices, pick the lab where they get printed, because you have a big choice for that, and they will take the money. It will take the money from the payments that come in and get the prints made, and they will take a cut. I think it's like 7%. That is not a huge cut. It's going to cost you 3% if you take PayPal, just for PayPal to take their money. So 7%, even 10%, if you don't have to do anything other than take the pictures and upload them to your upload them to Zenfolio or to SmugMug, and people just come there and order prints in any size they want, or any size that you offer, or any offerings that you have, and then the rest is done by the lab. They drop ship it, they collect the money, and at the end of the month or every other week or every week, they deposit the profits in your bank account. That is found money. I don't know. I consider Zenfolio and SmugMug third party. I don't know what other things are out there. But absolutely, if you shoot a lot of weddings, you shoot a lot of events, you put it up there, it's a turnkey solution. It's a turnkey solution for what you're looking for selling prints and making money. So that is something that I absolutely would recommend doing. I don't think they take a huge cut. Find out for a fact what they take, but I can't see it more. I thought it was 7%. I'd go as high as giving them 15%. I don't care. That's worth it in just time that you're saving. So that is the flying solo portion. This was a little different this week. I don't think I was as on like fire verbally, but I hope that's okay. I hope it was good information, because I rather have good information than bad information, because that's just the key. I've got a couple of guests lined up that are coming in from California. We've got Sam Green. I don't know if he's going to be on a RAWtalk. We've got Steven. We're going to start throwing in there some FroKnowsPhoto photo news by Steven. I can't wait for this, because it's really good. He's really good at it. I saw a test of it, and it's awesome. So Steven's coming to do something. I've got a local photographer who does Sports Illustrated. I'm working on getting him in. His name's like Steve Boyle. I've got my buddy that I went to Antonelli with, who has toured the world with Fall Out Boy and other bands, and he's worked for Nickelodeon, and he just works out in LA, big gigs. He's a really cool guy. Sean, he'll be in. I'm trying to get him in when he comes in from California. So there you have it, guys. That's RAWtalk episode 32. Anytime during this RAWtalk, you could have clicked on the screen on YouTube to download the MP3 to listen to it at your own leisure, to listen to it on the website, to watch the video via YouTube, or to subscribe onto iTunes, because that is the way that you can get notified. We try to have them up Monday. We try to have RAWtalks up early. We try to get them up on Monday at noon for anybody that's a subscriber, and then I promote on Tuesday the new episode. So that is really it. It's brought to you by FroKnowsPhoto.com/bootcamps. Check it out. We want to fill those boot camps up so we can get to all 8 cities to hold those free photo walks and the FroKnowsPhoto boot camps while we're there. A big thanks to AllensCamera.com for all of their support, all from for as long as I've been doing the site and before. Check out allenscamera.com if you're looking for new, used, and you are in the United States. Give them a call. They'll help you out. Ask for the Fro price. They will do their best. Thank you to Drobo. Thank you to AdoramAPix.com. And I think that rounds it up for now. And there you have it, guys. Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya!